just left. And my mother said, "I know. I just couldn't bring myself to say that." And then I understood. It was hard for her, too.
When I went into the school for the deaf, I was about 5, and I was so thrilled to get mail, a letter from my mom. My favorite holiday was Christmas. I always looked forward to the Christmas holiday. My mother would write on a card, "Only 2 more sleeps and you will be home." It was counting the days for me, to see how many days I would have to sleep at school before I was sleeping at home in the bunk bed with my brother. So it helped me have a sense of counting down to the time when I would be going home.
The students always had each other. It was like a big family. And we learned a lot from each other. Maybe some things we learned were wrong, and we may have had the wrong information sometimes, but we were a family. And some of us had no communication at home. So we could share with each other, advise each other, help each other.
One tradition was a special sign that students invented for each other. A sign they might keep for life. Their name sign.
When I got to the campus, to the Alabama School for the Deaf, I didn't have a name sign yet. And after thinking about it for a while, and this is pretty typical of deaf people, they look to see what your character is, how you behave, a personality trait, and then they give you a name sign that sort of ties into that particular trait that's unique to you. Well, after time went by, my friend said, "I got it. I know the way you swivel your hips when you walk, and so we're going to give you this name sign." So it went from my elbow down to my hip. I didn't know I had that little bit of a swivel with my hip. I thought I walked just like everybody else, but that name sign was given, and it's stuck ever since.
Students might sign to each other, but not in class. For most of the 20th century, the vast majority of deaf teaching was based almost exclusively on spoken language.
You weren't allowed to use sign during class. If you used sign during class, you would be punished. They would make you put on white mitts, and they would have strings attached to them so you wouldn't be able to use your hands.
It's really downtown, not Hampton. We have to keep our hand down and talk. We have to keep on talking and breathe. And if we wave our hands, that is just be afraid that if we use our hands, we produce the quality of our speech. So when I went downtown, so for the policeman and plan clothes, I did not know that it was watching me when I went back to Cuckoo. That this is good to me, right me. If we wave our hands downtown and want me not to go downtown again.
Many people don't realize that when children learn speech, it's all repetition, speech training over and over again. Think of all the time I spent on it when I could have learned other things, be educated in other things. I spent so much time learning how to talk, how to say milk, cat, dog. Hours holding my face, pushing my mouth, making things go back and forth, trying to make the right movements. This is an M. Awful.
There have always been what's referred to as oral failures. The technology of the day was limited, and those children may have had more difficulty developing spoken language.
Over a period of a few months, our class has been able to learn approximately 50 nouns. Now their skills are being advanced by writing and saying from memory.
Write it.
Even the adults today who talk about oral failures They are thinking about their own experiences going to the speech teacher or being at an oral school for the deaf and not being successful and or really struggling to communicate.
Right. Finish it. You're finished. You forgot. That's right. Sit down, then.
I can say that I was considered a successful oral person. For many years I was mainstreamed in a public school. I was able to use my speech with my family and my friends. I had a lot of speech training. I used hearing aids and was trained auditorily. But in my mid-20s, when I went to graduate school, or I was in graduate school, I realized how hard I was working just trying to lip read. It would just completely wear me out.
My oral abilities were limited. I learned vocabulary in English, but I couldn't speak it. My parents were relying on my speech, so I couldn't show them my intelligence.
You asked me to speak so I could demonstrate how successful I was as an oral deaf person. But I understand that speaking is only one way, and that if I speak, the other person hears me. They assume that I don't need any sort of interpreting or any kind of sign or anything like that. They assume that I can hear them. That's the problem with speaking. It's a two-way communication. So that's why I don't. Because I don't want people to assume that I can't hear them, because I can't. It's much easier just to turn off my voice.